I don't even know how to start this one. Do you have
I tried to
anything
give you
say?
instructions on how to do a cold open.
Oh, before I forget, this will be my cold open. So for the past 2 podcasts, I have meant to reference this. Not a lot of people's probably going to care about it or even get my brand of humor.
Great way to start a podcast then.
But I would just like to say it anyway. So the podcast before last, I talked a little bit about the Queen Charlotte, the Bridgerton spinoff. And then last week's episode that we cranked out at the last minute, we did our wedding-focused episode, and I was reminded of this again. So I forgot to mention that Michelle Farley played King George's mother in the Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story kind of spinoff show. And Michelle Farley is known as Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones. So you were asking me about, how was Queen Charlotte? Well, we got to see a wedding in that episode. And I would have to say her character at that wedding was probably a little bit better than the one she attended in Game of Thrones.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I could have worked that in because I meant to say it later. And I'm like, I could have worked that into our wedding themed episode. I know somebody's got to be laughing with me out there. The Red Wedding.
Compelling.
And her character was awful in Queen Charlotte too, by the way. But she must be really good at playing time period mothers. And now you're
Sorry about the coughing.
and hacking. Fun.
If they follow us on Instagram, they knew I was sick.
Yeah.
And you had
Took
the
him about
migraine
3
before
days
that.
to admit it that he was sick too.
Oh, come on. Now, I came to you and said, hey, I
He's
was
like,
feeling...
I'm like, is your throat sore? And he's like, well, I just have some scratchiness and postnasal drip. Also, what we like to call a sore throat. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Let's.
Let's move on. So before we get into what we've been watching, we're wrapping up May, which I'm going to say it right now. Now, I know no one likes January, because January is kind of blah. But I'm just going to say it. May is my least favorite month. Ever since I can remember, I have always been so insanely busy in May. In school, you have end of the year festivities. You've got a lot of events, functions that you have to go to. And that's carried me through both of my, professional adult life jobs. May has just always been insane, just insane. Internships in college always wrapped up in May. And then, of course, when I graduated college, you know what I spent May doing? Sending out resumes, applying for jobs. So May has just always been terribly busy. Not that we haven't had some fun in May. We saw Guardians. We went to a wedding. There's been some fun times along the way.
I've just been hanging out at the house.
Just hanging around.
I'm just hanging around.
Well, I have been so busy that I feel like, I told my therapist earlier, I feel like I have not even had time to catch my breath in May. But with the end of May comes the start of June, here very soon, and we've got some new shows that are going to be coming up.
You just rhymed.
I did rhyme.
Yep.
What did I say?
I don't know. I forgot
Here
already.
comes the start of June, which will be very soon.
Yep.
Or something. So there's a lot of shows coming back in June. We're kind of wrapping up sort of those late spring or even some early spring shows.
Yeah, I feel like Maisel's only got a couple episodes left.
Yeah, Maisel, Ted Lasso are wrapping up. We're going to talk about those in a bit. But we're going to get some shows coming back in June. The first one, which I just had you watch the trailer to refresh, is we are getting the final season. Or the last part, because I think they split it in parts, right? We had the part 1 of season 3 of Manifest. Manifest is a show. I should have said that. Coming June 1st. They gave us the part 1,
yeah,
I think
technically
fall.
this is the second part of that season. Yeah.
And so we're getting the second part, which will be the last part, the final season. So,
thank goodness.
What are your thoughts? Thank goodness. We love that show. You're such a...
No.
He does this, guys. He does this. He'll be like, oh, I'm vibing on the show. I like it. And then, to come off as the cool one, the good cop, bad cop, he's like, well, thank goodness it's over. You liked it. We breezed through it.
I said I liked that show. You say I love that show. In a similar manner to how I would rate shows, those are two different words. They mean different things.
Collective eye roll.
I don't love Manifest,
but it's better than Fine.
And I haven't loved, and in particular the last the Netflix. I guess the first half of this past season on
Fine,
Netflix. Though? It's fine.
In the beginning, you would have rated it better.
I would have rated it better. I would have rated it better in the beginning. Yes.
I agree that it's not as good as it once was. I think what happened was they had some writer switches. They were always wondering if they were going to get canceled or not, which they did. I think it was on NBC originally, and they ultimately did get canceled from NBC. And if Netflix hadn't picked it up, that would have been a horrible ending to it. And I know I read some interviews that they were originally supposed to have like 6 seasons, and they had this long, drawn-out plan, and now they've kind of had to condense it because Netflix gave them a lifeline, if you will, to reference kind of the Manifest show. A calling, if you will, and they said, we're going to renew it, but you only get like this amount of time. So they've kind of had to take their little plan and shrink it down. But I feel like in the beginning of that show, there were some changes. Like, remember Grace's like boyfriend guy?
Yeah, he just disappears one day, and it seems like they gave him enough of a character that
I think that actor ended up doing another show.
Kind of hang around for a while, but he just like disappeared.
I think that actor ended up doing another show and everything. And then like Zeke was supposed to, who I don't know what season he showed up on because we watched the beginning of it, the non-Netflix seasons. We binged that on Netflix actually because
he was in for season 1. Yeah,
he was in season 1.
Pretty sure.
I don't know about that. We're going to pause this real quick, and I'm going to look it up on IMDb.
Oh my gosh! So we're back. Repeat what you just said.
I'm not gonna
Please repeat what you just said.
I said, I hate you.
Why is that?
Because Zeke shows up in the 12th episode of the first season of Manifest. I'm sorry that I forgot. You want to know why I thought it was season 2?
Why is that?
Because the show, and by the way, we had a slight error because the thing that I read had an error, so it wasn't my error. This is actually season 4 of Manifest. The final season. The reason why I think I assumed in my brain it was season 2 because those first few seasons were on NBC, and I think we had longer, like more. You know how like NBC they have like more episodes than what you get on like a Netflix show. So probably in my brain I thought, well, surely he shows up so late. Why would he be on season 1? So there is a logical reasoning for that. But I guess for once I'll let you be right.
I believe there's been a couple occurrences on this podcast of me being correct.
And how many occurrences have there been of me being correct? A lot.
We don't keep count.
Because I'm always right. Boom. But anyway, Manifest, if you guys haven't watched that, I would recommend you watch it on Netflix. That's kind of what we did. I feel like that was one of the shows we did watch during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Like we picked up a lot of TV that we normally wouldn't have watched. And then I remember like reading about it because when we started it, I think they added it to Netflix, but Netflix still hadn't said they were doing the last season yet. It was, and I'm sitting there talking to you like, oh great, did I just get us into a show that we're not going to have an ending on? And then they confirmed that Netflix would be bringing it back. I definitely think the first couple seasons are a lot better.
I'm pretty sure this is also one of the shows you started and then joined me in on, and
You only missed the first episode.
Oh, just the first episode? Okay.
Because sometimes I got you up to speed.
There have been shows where I legitimately miss like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then I just end up on the couch
Umbrella
watching.
Academy, I made you go back and rewatch
Yeah, you made me
those
go back and
own.
watch on that one.
Because I watched that on my own, and I was like, okay, this is wonderfully weird. I think Daniel might enjoy this show, which I know we're supposed to be getting another season of that. I don't know when it's coming, if we're getting it this year, though. Do you remember? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't seen anything.
And it's going to be the last season of Umbrella Academy, too.
Yeah, because, it probably is a good thing because...
It kind of runs its course.
How many times can they fix the world and then break it again and fix it and break it again?
And then they ruin... Allison's awful, the character.
I guess they could keep going. Look at Supernatural, but...
Yeah, Supernatural, though, is one of those shows where I feel like you could always tell when they weren't sure if they're going to get picked up.
Yeah,
and, it
absolutely.
almost had what could have been a series finale.
Yeah.
What could have... And it's almost Supernatural, when does Castiel show up? Who becomes, a main... I don't think he shows up till, season 4 or something.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4. It's late.
Somebody correct us.
It's season 3 or 4, actually late, not episode 12 of the first episode late. Of the first season.
I'm going to look that up right now.
Oh,
you tell them about you go on about your thoughts on the last season of Manifest while I look up when Castiel
The Netflix, I always like it when Netflix picks up. It's always interesting to see if Netflix is going to change the tone of the show, which I thought they kept it pretty much in line. Like they even did the fake commercial breaks. Like they would have had
season 4 for Castiel.
Okay.
So we were right.
They even do the fake commercial breaks and everything. Like
when
Lucifer did the same thing.
Yeah.
They took just a little bit extra that they could from Netflix.
But I like that though,
because they kept it consistent.
I like it because sometimes in those shows when they're written like that, you need that natural little bit. I don't want the commercial.
Unfortunately,
I'm good with not having a commercial, but I'm good with having the brief little break next scene. Unfortunately
for me, I guess the main villain antagonist of season 4, and
Yeah, she's pretty terrible.
I just don't like, and it's not that I don't like the character in the sense of she's a good villain and I don't like her.
She
I just
annoys
don't
the
like
crap
her.
out of me.
She annoys me,
What's
and
her
I
name?
do not care for her.
Angelina?
Yeah,
Angelina?
I just don't care for anything about that
I didn't
character.
like her the moment she showed up on screen.
And the fact that basically, and we just watched the trailer for that second half.
Wow, we were all over the place.
And
But
she is going in as essentially the main villain.
terrible.
Antagonist. I'm not going to call her villain. I think she's more of an antagonist.
She's crazy. She's a lunatic.
I just,
She's nuts.
it's not doing it for me, and I'm worried that.
But the first couple seasons were good.
Yeah.
And let me circle back to our original when we were bringing up Zeke. That character, I knew that he wasn't going to be in every Netflix episode. So I was all excited when they brought him back. And I was like, oh, well, I had read that he had signed on for other projects. That he might, and then I realized they were doing the parter, and then I don't want to tell you because I know we're a spoilery podcast, but since not everybody's watched the show, something happens to him in the first part, and I was like, oh, so that's why. But we just saw him in the trailer. Maybe.
I wonder what it could be she's referring to. What could possibly happen to a character in the mid-season break to keep them out of the rest of the season?
It would be right now talking about Manifest. If you guys don't watch it, go watch it. I do think it is an enjoyable show. I think the last season, it's not that we didn't enjoy watching the last season. I was like really sick when we were watching it too. I remember being on the couch not feeling good. We had just gotten back from Disney in November. I think I had RSV, and we like binged it basically that weekend. But I remember I still had enough what am I trying to say? Like critical thinking to be like, oh, this isn't as good as like the previous seasons. And I can tell that they feel a little rushed. But
yeah.
I am hopeful though that even if I don't like it, I'm hopeful that we'll get some type of resolution.
It's tough when you can see a storyline that was supposed to be given a couple seasons.
Yeah.
Get wrapped up in like 3 episodes because that's how fast they have to do it.
I feel like if the creators had been given the time, they would have been able to more organically build it. I'm pretty sure they've had to shift some things around in here. Some of the characters. So Ben, I feel like he's going to be a little bit better off in this part. He had just lost his wife. Again, spoiler alert. And I think enough time has passed. He's going to, because you kind of saw his journey at the end. He's going to be back to kind of that leadership role.
I'm going to take
Michaela. She might not be doing so well.
I'm going to go out on a limb though and say that trailer gave me vibes that there's going to be another time jump.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
What about? I feel like to get Michaela not being depressed the entire season.
Because they're going to be pressing right up against the death date, but that's still in like 2024. And
I think there's something like, I don't know if they're going to full blown jump up to that. I'm not really sure. But I think they're going to have, Michaela's always been, or Auntie Mick, whatever they call her. They call her Mick. Her real name's Michaela, but a lot of them they call her Mick on the show, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I feel like yes, that's correct. I feel like she has every right to be depressed and mopey. So, but we need her leadership.
She's going to find her way back to her, toxic relationship with the cop guy, though.
You think it's toxic, though?
Yes, it absolutely
He's so
is.
Cute, though.
It absolutely is.
I see both.
I
go back and forth on that one.
That's one of those relationships where...
Should we explain the premise of Manifest, by the way? Probably should have started with that. If you haven't watched Manifest yet, which one time somebody posted a TikTok that they saw somebody watching Manifest on an airplane. Of all the shows to watch on an airplane, I would say probably this one. You want to avoid this one. You want to avoid Lost. I wouldn't do those shows. But anyway, basically the timeline starts off in 2013. They're on an airplane. Their family goes to Jamaica. Half the family takes one flight back. The other family is like, you know what, we'll take flight 828s. And they're on the plane, the people that took the flight 828. And, there's some turbulence, kind of a storm. Things got a little shaky. But then everything was good, or so we thought. They land, and suddenly the plane that had been missed, how many years passed by? Like 5 years or something?
I think when they bring it back, it was whatever year the show came out.
So I think it was
like 5 years.
I think it was like 5 years. So obviously a lot can change in 5 years. So Mick gets back. Her possible fiance, I don't know if she had told him yes yet.
She was debating it on this vacation.
He's with her friend who just another character that just disappeared.
It feels like there should have been something more for her.
If I was a writer, now I know this is cheesy and tacky and it's been overdone, but I would bring, what was her name, like Lourdes or something? I would bring her back and have her like with Jared's baby. Like she just kind of poofed and disappeared, and it was like to be forgotten about.
With what's happened with the show, even if they had plans for something like that, it's too late now.
And sometimes one of the problems that you have is when you have a show and you don't know if you're getting the next season actors because they're not in those contracts, they might sign on to another show. Or like the case with Netflix, like they were able to work it out with the actor who plays Zeke that he could come in and do some shows. But he, at that point, like, you know, they're lucky that they got the main characters to come back on for Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, could that be a reason
What
why
show was
we
he
have
on?
old Cal now?
Do we have any idea what he was up to?
Who?
The guy that played Zeke.
I don't know what show he's in. He's done some Hallmark movies.
Oh, sorry about that.
He's in one of the really good Hallmark Christmas, because the first time he showed up in Manifest, I was like, I saw that guy on a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Do you think that they would have done
He was in the Hallmark Christmas movie with the Panabaker girl that's on The Flash.
Oh.
That plays, what's her name? Caitlin Snow.
I apologize, folks.
Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost. This is how our brains work. It's like you guys are in our living room with us.
Okay, so Cal, do you think they would have done him in the last season? Or at the season break between 3 and 4, he was aged up and they brought in a different actor.
So
do you think
Cal
they would have done that?
was a little boy. Cal has a twin. His twin took the other flight. So when Cal came back, his twin was now a teenager.
Yeah.
He was still the same age. But then it was the finale at the end of when it was still on NBC, right?
Season 3.
I think they had already made that choice on NBC to age him up.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that was kind of always in their plan.
And I think that's why. Remember, he's like, he knows Angelina. Remembered her from the flight, and it's all connected.
I was just wondering if that had something to do with like their plans being kind of compressed.
I feel like some of what I thought was going to be more of a supernatural aspect is kind of taken like this, kind of what I know the show Supernatural did. It's taken kind of like this like religious divinity.
I wasn't a huge fan of that turn when it started.
Is that the right word I'm looking for? Like,
yeah, instead of supernatural, it started turning just ever slightly more into like kind of that religious aspect.
And I just don't know how they're gonna.
I mean,
like, are they all angels? Like, are they in some type of purgatory state? Are we gonna lost this thing up? I don't know. I'm excited to see how it ends. I know we probably should have started off with something other than we're just like, let's just jump in and not even explain the premise of the show. What season was Zeke in? Oh, by the way, this is what it's about. They were in this plane crash and then they came back. Like, it's like the Joey thing from Friends. Betsy's been dead for 30 years. All my friends fellow fans will get that reference. But anyway, check out Manifest. Comes back June 2nd. You have plenty of time to get caught up. First few seasons are good. I'm not going to even say that I'm with you that the last season kind of, when they got into the meth head storyline, now we really, now we really sound like we're all over the place. That's when things started getting a little kooky, because that's where we also met Angelina.
Okay, folks, I just want to make sure it's very clear.
That's what the show called them.
That's
not what we're calling them.
So it's the meth heads arc of the show. And I'm sitting there, and they just keep saying it. They just keep saying the meth heads, and I'm like, they're just that they've gone with that.
I'll be remiss if I ask you. So we have some characters on the show with some possible relationships. So there's Ben. Ben's wife Grace died. I originally thought that they were going to have those two separate. She was going to stay with her boyfriend, and they were going to get Ben with Dr. Samvi. Yeah. And then they kind of just stopped doing that. And I do think if we had 6 seasons, that Ben and Samvi were meant to be endgame, but right now I'm just not seeing how you can organically do that. I think they might put her back with Alex, her girlfriend.
I think
it
would be really tough to do at this point.
Do you think she'll get back with her girlfriend?
Even if they did like a really big time jump, just while it could be made sense of within the bounds of the story with time jump, it would still be very shocking.
What about her girlfriend though, Alex?
Yeah, I could see them doing that,
because they did bring Alex back in to help out with something that was going on with Cal.
Yeah.
But I do think originally it was meant to be Sanvi and Ben. I just don't know, even if they do a really big time jump, I don't know how you do that without feeling random unless they immediately start off with them kind of carrying that torch. Because we've always seen it from Sanvi's side that she admitted she had a crush on him.
Yeah.
We never really, did we really see it from Ben's side?
No, because he's always been wrapped up in...
I think he cares about her deeply as a friend and everything that she did for his family, but... the other ship, so obviously I've always been torn on who I wanted Michaela with, because I do agree with you.
You don't have to be now because she can't be with Zeke.
You don't know. They could always do some switcheroo. They could bring him back. I don't know. Anything's possible. They brought him back from the dead before. Spoiler alert. But anyway, Zeke, I go back and forth because I know that she and Jared have an undeniable connection, but I do feel like they can be a little toxic. Jared will do like anything. He will break the law. He will do anything for her.
That's called toxic relationship.
But God, he sure is dreamy though. I like Jared. I think Jared can be a really good person, but I think that I honestly think Michaela's partner, what's her name? Drea? Is that her name? We really like her.
Yeah,
and she's seeing Jared right now. I think they might actually be a better match. I feel like Jared and them are better as friends, even though I don't think that's going to happen. I think they are going to be in game. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. So what else is in June?
So I wanted to know your thoughts on the show. Which ship did you like better? Who did you like Michaela with better? Did you like her better with Zeke? Zeke and her Zeke.
The answer is only Zeke.
I like them both. I go back and forth with both ways.
Even
but
though
I think
it can't be now at this point.
I think ultimately I did prefer her with Zeke because it was healthier. But anyway, what else is in June? I hope you guys really enjoyed that probably like 15-minute discussion on Manifest. I don't know how long it was totally. So I've got my little list here coming up. I'm not sure. I don't watch this show. I've only seen a few episodes, but I know you watch this show. I wasn't even aware this show like had new episodes in the summertime because I thought they were on regular schedule like most shows. And that show that I am speaking of is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're coming back for season 16. With 2 new episodes airing back to back on FX on Wednesday, June 7th.
I float in and out of It's Always Sunny from time to time.
But I thought because it was like, I guess FX is a little different. I guess I just thought it had that normal like September to May date like most other shows that air.
I couldn't tell you. The only Sunny I ever watch is on Netflix or Hulu, wherever it is. Wherever it's streaming these days. I'll go in, turn on some episodes when I just need some.
I didn't know they had 16 seasons.
Oh yeah.
I've seen the first season, and then I've seen some sporadic episodes.
You need to get into it.
It's kind of one of those shows that, is it like Kimmy Schmidt in a way, just totally bizarre and over the top?
Yes, absolutely.
Which I really like Kimmy Schmidt, but I know we watched the last show of It's Always Sunny that I watched we watched the Christmas episode with what is like Charlie's uncles or I don't even know. Didn't they go like, what'd they do? Like vandalized homes or something?
I don't remember. The one I remember you watching, I was watching an episode on, I don't think you were watching. You were just you just happened to be in the living room. And it was the one where Danny DeVito hid himself in the couch and then suddenly came out like butt naked.
Because he doesn't even show, he's not like, I've seen the entirety of the first season. Yeah, he's not in the first season. And he's not even in the first season. And is he somebody's dad? Is he Dennis's dad?
Yes, I can't remember which characters.
Dee and Dennis?
I don't even remember their name. Yes, I think that's it.
Wow, I remember the names and I've only seen a few episodes.
I'm terrible with names.
I guess you are. So let's see here. What else did I screenshots? All right. On Thursday, June 22nd, we have 2 shows coming back. One that you and I watched together and one that I just watched. So the one that you and I watched together is The Bear. It is returning on Hulu. I think this one's going to be harder for us because we watched The Bear last time. All the episodes had already dropped.
Yeah, they do it.
We watched. We are binge people.
They're doing the thing.
Yeah, that's what Hulu does. The only one that does not do the episodic release is Netflix. And then occasionally Amazon based on show. Like we got all of Upload, both seasons all at once. And then sometimes Amazon will give you like the first 3 episodes and then they make you wait. But as far as I know, Hulu has always been for their main shows that episodic release.
You know, I'll show up for The Bear and watch it week by week only because if they can repeat with, okay, I'm going to say this right here. If The Bear season 2 can repeat what it did with season 1, I will be willing to have a discussion with you about whether or not The Bear needs to be in The Best Thing Going.
Okay, that's fair. I feel like for me, while I really enjoyed The Bear ultimately, I think if you had just given me that first episode, I wouldn't have been like, oh, I can't wait for next week. Because it really got better. It hit its stride about midway through. So the binging format for me was even though I've admitted on this podcast many times that I prefer a binge format, for that show that really helped get me into it. But, you know, at the end, they closed the restaurant. I don't want to, well, I guess it's a spoiler podcast. They closed the current restaurant. He's going to open his new one.
Yeah. And that's
he's going to call it The Bear,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because I think that was his brother's nickname. So
yeah. Let her rip. Shane from Walking Dead played his brother.
He's a big actor to bring in for like 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, so this says it's the FX produced, but Hulu exclusive. Did it air on FX last year? So this year it's just going to be straight up on Hulu then?
You're telling me for the first time. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
According to this, it's going to be a 10-episode season.
Tell me where to show up and watch, and I'll watch. That's all I need to know about the Bear.
The second season picks up following the events of last year's finale. Well, duh. Thank you for that description. And thus finds the crew attempting to open a new, higher-end restaurant, a goal that brings fresh obstacles.
Cousin's going to love that.
I can't wait to see Cousin. Then Cousin showed up on Andor, right? Which we have not finished yet because it's not. I just don't vibe with Andor.
So what's the show that you're watching on your own?
Well, it's a show that I did watch the first season of. Every episode irritated me to no end, but it was kind of like that Larry David meme, like that "screw you, I'll see you next week." Screw you, I'll see you season 2.
I think I know what you're about to say.
And that is, and just like that, season 2, which is the spinoff of Sex and the City. It's the continuation. Kim Cattrall is not in it because she didn't want. I guess.
So they're gonna kill Aiden off in this one.
I don't know. Kim Cattrall didn't sign on to do the first season. I know there's been some tension there. So it really does kind of lack Samantha.
Kim Cattrall of Star Trek fame.
Oh, you can't even. Okay, shh. Stop. But I feel like this season's going to be a little less somber because obviously Big died last season. My biggest complaints with it was the show. It was as if
the Peloton killed him.
It was as if there was a bunch of like Gen X and like millennials in the room that were like, what do Gen Z people sound like? And they tried so hard to be so woke, which is fine because that's how society is. But they tried so hard, it came off cringy. It was just really like weird.
I remember you telling me that each episode. Seriously,
dialing up the
you
cringe
really
factor.
were as you were watching it every week. You were like, God, this is terrible.
Like,
and
this
then
is so
as soon as the
cringy.
next
I can't
episode
wait for the
dropped,
next episode.
you just started watching the next one.
But anyway, Aiden.
It's kind of like how I watched The Rings of Power. I was like, this is so terrible. Here's the next episode.
Oh, I thought you just said you ended up liking that one now. I guess you didn't. Yeah, because
I didn't like that.
We actually said, I was like, is it going to be like in Just Like That? So you just referenced Aiden. You want to talk about Aiden? He's going to be back.
Is he going to have his long hair?
I think in the scenes, John Corbett does have it, which there is a whole argument where Carrie and Aiden are together, and she's like, Rogaine? He's like, it helps with my hair. And somebody on Reddit was like, guess that Rogaine really did help him.
I like him with the long hair better than the short.
I can't believe you even remember his different looks. I feel like
Listen,
I thought short hair Aiden was hotter.
My mind works in mysterious ways, and there are certain things that I remember, and there are certain things.
Really? He looked hotter, though, with his shorter hair, but I guess you really don't care about that.
No comment.
Just like that. But we had wondered if Aiden was going to show up in season 1, and he didn't. And we all figured I figured he'd be in there at some point. Even though
he has to come in season 2, treat her far better than she deserves to be treated, and then ultimately get dumped for somebody else random.
Wait a minute. On the original series, which Daniel has watched all seasons of, and it was better than fine. You liked Sex and the City.
We're about to do this, folks.
You liked Sex and the City, right?
Sex and the City is a good TV show.
There you go. Who did you ship Carrie with?
Big. She doesn't deserve Aiden.
There you go.
Thank you. But not because I don't like her and Aiden, but he's too good for her. She's a shitty person. Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped our first bad word, and we're keeping it. She's
not a bad person,
and she doesn't deserve him.
She could just be selfish at times. I always thought that Carrie was Aiden's Big. You know how like Big was like that unattainable. Carrie always was trying to mold him. That's how I always thought it. So I ultimately shipped her with Big as well. Just because she was never going to be able to give Aiden what he wanted. That being said, it does really irritate me when people act like it was all Carrie's fault. Aiden knew she smoked, tried to change her. Aiden knew her commitment issues. Aiden knew her personality. And Aiden ultimately, what sometimes Carrie would try to do with Big, he tried to change her and mold her into what he wanted.
Sure.
So it took two people to the downfall of that relationship. When they did the Aiden Carrie 2.0, I never really like understood what they were doing with that, but that's when he comes back with the short hair, and I thought,
that was later
good.
Seasons, yeah.
I don't think there's pictures of them on set, like even kissing and stuff. I'm I'm like, I can't believe they would post that. So I don't know if it's going to be a dream sequence. I don't think it'll be a dream sequence, but I don't think, sorry, Carrie Aiden shippers, I would be really surprised if they're like, okay, Big died, then the actor that played him did some, shady stuff. So here we go. We're going to finally give you, but you never know. You never know. They always did have really good chemistry, but that's one of the things that does get on my nerves is when fans just only trash Carrie about that, because there's a lot of things that Aiden did wrong in that relationship too, and he knew things.
I didn't say she didn't do that. That it wasn't mutually.
I mean, she could be a crappy person,
but
so could he. When they get back together in season 4, he constantly brings up like what she did previously. It's
he
like,
just deserves
don't get back together with her.
He deserves to find him a woman that appreciates that
and
cabin.
You know what? Really,
that cabin in the woods.
And
he
deserves
did.
To
find somebody that appreciates
He did.
it.
We never met her on screen, but Aiden shows up in season 5, is happy, has a kid and everything. Then they had to come up with those garbage movies. First one movie, okay. Second movie, they had him come on, and remember, Carrie and Aiden like kissed in the second one. I'm like, wow, you just completely assassinated Aiden's character. Because Aiden was still married in the second one when they did that.
I don't recall watching the movie.
Slashed. And then, well, you did watch the movies, and you probably fugue stated that one because... But yeah, would I watch a third movie? Absolutely. Am I going to watch the show? Sure. I don't know if Steve's going to be on it. Steve and Miranda were like one of my favorite couples from the original series. They completely crapped all over that. And you know what? I would have been fine with them ending up divorced. But the fact that there was cheating involved and just like that just really got on my nerves. And Miranda was one of my very favorite characters from the OG series. And they've made her basically like a Karen, like just very self-centered person. I felt like Charlotte was the one that had the best growth, but still remained very true to her character, but also had the best growth.
She's still
from
married
the
to
first
the bald
series,
guy?
the original. Yeah.
Okay. Good for her. Good for them. Can we talk about the thing in June that I'm actually looking forward to?
No.
We have more stuff before we get there? Gosh.
We have a few more things. Oh, let's talk about what you are looking most forward to in June. On Monday, June 26th, The Bachelorette comes back with Charity. Are you excited to see Charity's season of The Bachelorette?
No.
No. Yes, you are.
No. So, what are the rules here for the podcast? I have to watch the first episode when they all come introduce.
Yeah.
Then I can take my break until like the last few episodes. Is that how are we going to stick to that?
That's usually what we've been doing.
Okay, because nobody wants to hear me just complain about this show week after week, right?
But you didn't
Don't put that poll
so
up.
much last
Do not
time.
put that poll up because I do not want people to commit me to watching this whole thing.
But you are going to watch every episode of Bachelor in Paradise because that's the one that you always commit to watching the full season of. You told me Bachelor in Paradise was fine.
And what do we know about fine?
Better than okay. So what is our premiere date? It is actually June 15th so I actually skipped ahead with The Bachelorette. June 15th of Strange New Worlds Season 2. Get into it. What is Strange
Star
Worlds?
Trek, Strange New Worlds. Thank you
Star Trek.
very much.
Can't go an episode without it.
Looking forward to it. It's on my short list of items that could, with a good second season, be in the running for best thing going.
The end of the first season, we saw Rebecca Romaine's character.
She was arrested
what is
for
she again?
being
refresh me. She's
genetically enhanced.
So she's not a Romulan.
Which is currently banned in the Federation.
She's genetically enhanced.
Yeah.
And they found out that she was, and they kind of carted her off.
That was kind of like the stinger of the season was that she was arrested, yeah.
Do you think they're going to pick up right from that moment, have a time jump, have her back with the crew? Do you think they're going to have her separated from the crew for a while? How do you think they're going to play that one?
I mean, she has appeared in like every trailer they've dropped, so
yeah, that's what
pretty
I was
prevalently. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say they tie that back up pretty quickly.
Okay.
Figure out how. I don't know how they're going to get it out of it, but they're going to figure that out pretty quick.
Do we know what episode's going to be our not Pete's Dragon episode?
Oh, the crossover with Lower Decks.
Which is not going to be like animation style.
I feel like I saw somebody say it was the 5th or the 6th episode, but I can't recall for sure.
And that's also a weekly release, correct?
Yes.
And we watched Strange New Worlds in a non-weekly release last time. I know you're going to be cool with that, but for me, again, I just really like the binge watching format.
What day of the week is that? Why? Gosh. Why can't I get a show that comes out weekly on Monday?
June 15th is a Thursday.
Oh, I gotta wait all the way through the week till Thursday.
So Tuesdays will be the Bear. Yeah, that's right. Hulu shows are almost always on Tuesdays. We've been complaining though that we haven't had a Tuesday show in a while.
At least I'll have a Tuesday show. 2 Tuesday shows and a Thursday show
It
is not
seems
bad.
like Thursday is always the time when they're all like, you know what, we're gonna give you a bunch of
Why does nobody
episodes.
want to put anything out on Monday? Because I would like Mondays are tough. I would love to have something on Monday.
And you know what's really odd? You would have gotten the Bachelorette on Monday, but they changed it to Tuesday for some reason.
That would have just made my Monday worse. So
So anyway, that's what's coming up in June. What have we been watching?
we've got, since
Kinda
we
skipped
last
that last
spoke, we've watched 2 episodes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Ted Lasso. You want to go Maisel first?
Sure. What do you think?
I mean,
I
none
feel
of
like I'm like, it's good.
none of these 2 episodes has been as good as the Susie
The Susie roasting
Susie
flash
roast
forward episode. Which is
That was
so
probably
good.
the best season or the best episode of this season for sure.
maybe ever.
And yeah, it was a good episode. But I mean, you can kind of start to see
You're piecing some together.
they're piecing stuff together. They're starting to kind of say,
We got some good Abe content.
yeah, they're starting
Midge's dad.
to walk towards the end of
And you think you know how it's going to end, right? Well, you said the other night that were you like half out of it on Zyrtec?
I was definitely on drugs when
you
I
were
said
like,
that.
okay, so this season she's been working as a writer on the Gordon Ford
Oh,
show,
yeah.
which I think is supposed to be kind of like a Johnny Carson spinoff.
Yeah.
And he's been like, I don't put writers as my comedians on it. It looks like she's finally going to get her way in, and you think that it's not going to end with a flash forward. I think we'll have some flash forward stuff be tied up.
We're going to have some more
You think the
flash
final
forwards,
scene
yes.
is going to be her stepping on the stage for that
She's
show.
going to get called out on the stage for the show. Maybe we'll even see some of her set. I don't know.
And that might
but
be
I
her
think
big
that's
break.
going to be Anne's scene, is her
I feel like they'll have her
coming
come out on
onto the
stage,
show.
spotlight.
Something like that,
Go to
yes,
credits.
is what's going to happen.
I
That's
agree
going to
with
be your
you.
Anne scene of the
That's
series.
probably how I would end it. I do think we're definitely going to get more flash forwards. I feel like they can't end us.
I know
We're going to need more resolution for her and Susie.
that's the flash forward I know we're still going to get.
Yeah.
Is whatever when they get together one last time, not one last time, but
that we see
to make amends
on screen.
That is
Hopefully.
going to be hopefully.
Hopefully.
That's what we're going to see. That I know we're going to see that flash forward, but I don't think they're going to end the series on that. I think they're going to end the series on her appearance on Gordon Ford show.
I agree. I think they'll end it in the current timeline that we're in.
Yep.
Now, the last episode, the most recent one that aired, was very focused on her and Joel's relationship. So I actually saw something that I read. I think it was like a YouTube comment. I agreed with it. That while I love her and Lenny Bruce, I feel like Lenny Bruce, who we still haven't seen yet, we might not see him at all this season.
He was just
I
in
don't
the first
even know if they're
episode.
going to reference what really happened to Lenny Bruce in real life at this point.
It's starting to seem like they may not.
I think that he is Midge's soulmate. They have an undeniable connection, but Joel is the love of her life. Even though he kind of screwed up in the beginning, I think. And I felt like that this most recent episode of Maisel they had some throwbacks to the start of their relationship.
Yeah.
They both, I don't think they'll ever be over each other, no matter what they do. Even if they never get back together, which I'm not convinced that they're ever going to get back together. They might hook up and stuff, but because even one of the flash forwards where she's like getting ready for a wedding, she's like, I think I'm still in love with Joel. I think that they're the loves of each other's lives.
I'd agree with that.
And if he hadn't screwed up, which I'm not saying him screwing up was a good thing, but would she had even gone off to become the comedian?
Possibly not.
Still, he screwed up, and I'm still mad at him about
We should probably check and see how many episodes they are, because I don't want to get stuck, like, watching the last episode, not knowing
and
it.
not realize it. I will look that up right now. So while I'm looking that up, do you want to kick us off on Ted Lasso?
Yeah, I mean, Ted Lasso continues to be great. I don't know. I'm always perplexed. There is a large coalition of people online who only recognize season 1 of Ted Lasso as any good whatsoever.
I think it's gotten
They
better and
hated
better.
season 2.
Do they hate
and they
character
despise
growth?
season 3.
Do they hate character growth?
And I'm not gonna. I will admit, season 1 of Ted Lasso was an absolutely if I was ranking season 1s of TV shows,
perfection.
it's up there at the very top.
Perfection.
It was great, from beginning to end, closing of a storyline. But I didn't. I mean, I've loved season 2. Is next week the last episode of
Wait
Maisel?
a minute.
This
What
week?
okay? What last week was the 19th, right?
Yeah.
I think this might be the finale coming up.
Okay, so
According to
I was
there's
worried
no
about
more
that.
left on IMDb. Sorry to jump into that, guys.
I didn't want to be caught off guard. I wanted to know that it was the last episode.
Yeah. Let me see. Season 5. We just watched The Princess
This is
and the
breaking
Flea.
news, everyone.
So yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I think unless they don't have, which sometimes IMDb can be tricky, but 9 episodes makes sense for an Amazon show.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, back to Ted Lasso. Season 1 perfection. But what are these people that say they don't like it? Do you people not like character growth?
I mean,
do you not like character? Are you like the people that I watch my CW shows with that are like, oh, with the Vampire Diaries, it should just always be like season 1? And I'm like, so you didn't like to see the character growth of, Damon Salvatore? I mean, yes, he would fall back into some bad patterns, but he clearly changed. Or Caroline Forbes. I'm like, I watch shows to see my characters evolve. And this show, look at Jamie Chart. Would you have been like, oh, he's the best character in season 1?
No, absolutely not.
What about now?
Yeah. I've even seen people criticize like the writers, though, saying the writers, like, they must have gotten new writers or something. So I don't know.
People didn't like the Beard episode last season, and a lot of people didn't like. Where were they? Were they Amsterdam?
Amsterdam, yeah, this season.
I thought that was like,
I like that episode
probably
too.
one of the best episodes of the season, and every episode after that has just been phenomenal. So Nate, you want to talk about Nate?
Yeah, I mean they're redeeming him. I think he's already kind of recaptured your heart a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I'm more forgiving than I thought.
He started mending fences. He made up with is it Aiden? Is that the guy that does his job? Like the
Colin,
stock
right?
boy,
I don't remember what his name is.
I don't remember either. But
Colin's on the team.
He made up with him, by kind of doing his job there and writing him a note. And you wonder the next episode whether he's going to kind of try and approach Ted.
You're missing out what he actually did though.
Well, he quit, yeah, and it was kind of a like.
It starts off with a cold open.
Yeah, and he's just already
most
quit.
Recent episode. And they're like, oh, he's quit.
And actually, the headline was
say
fired.
Quit, yeah, fired. So we're like, oh my gosh, why would Rupert fire Nate just because he got mad at him and he wouldn't go out with him and be a terrible person with him? And I'm like, that's still not what Rupert ultimately wants to win. I don't think Rupert would do that unless he was messing with somebody. But then we find out that when Nate's with his girlfriend, who we like right now,
yeah,
seems like she actually likes him for him and is helping him kind of find that light again.
Like
we find out that Nate quit. Which made me respect him.
Yeah. It was Anakin coming back and throwing the Emperor down the shaft of the Death Star.
Yeah. So, according to this, we have 2 more episodes of Ted Lasso.
Okay. That's good. That's enough to give us this episode to kind of do some stuff.
I think this season's been great. It's like we're Roy and Keeley.
Yeah, they're back together.
Well, we don't know for sure if they're boyfriend-girlfriend, but we're going to assume so, that they're back together.
I'm okay.
Roy wears tie-dye now.
He does.
Jamie's Roy's best friend.
He is.
I love that. What was it, Roy's birthday, or she just said Uncle's Day? Or they just
Uncle's Day. She just made it up.
And then I instantly invented a ship with Roy Kent's sister, who we've now seen on screen, like 3 times?
Yeah.
2 times maybe? I was like, ooh, she and Jamie should get together. And like Jamie actually made a comment, and Roy was like, don't you dare. But like Jamie brought a gift for Roy, and it was like Roy was actually touched. Jamie didn't get him the tie-dye shirt.
All right. So to wrap up here.
Oh, you don't want to just talk about how awesome Jamie and Roy Kent are and how it's the best relationship
for hours? No, not particularly.
I could talk about hours.
Two episodes of Ted Lasso left. As far as we're aware, the last 2 episodes of Ted Lasso ever,
yeah.
Is Ted going to be the coach by the end of the last episode?
I do not believe so, but I think that Ted Lasso is going to give us a happy ending, and I think we're going to get character resolutions.
Is Nate going to be the coach by the end of the last episode?
Of Richmond?
Richmond.
No. I think Roy Kent will be the coach.
That's what I think.
And if not, I mean, I could see Nate maybe, but like I think they're leaning towards Roy Kent taking more of that leadership role and finding his place. Finding his purpose. And Keeley now no longer has that overbearing person. She's going to go strike out on her own and bring Barbara with her.
Yeah.
A character who we did not like in the beginning and now like.
Snow globes and all
Rebecca has had her closure finally with Richard.
I
think she finally forgave him. You think she forgave him?
I think so. I think that I think for the most part,
and forgiving him took away that revenge aspect.
That was closing out her storyline to a certain extent. Like she'll be in the next few episodes, but I think that really is a strong closure to her main arc of the entire series.
Because
was
she started
starting
off
out
wanting to get back at him.
Wanting to get back
That's
at
why
him.
she hired Ted.
And even at the beginning of this season, she was like, I want you to beat him. I want you to win, and do all that. So that is very much a closure of her character's arc.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think we could still have some more. Do you think she and Ted are going to get together? I just don't. I love their friendship. I don't think I'd be opposed to it, but I'm like,
no, that's not going to happen.
I would prefer not.
No, that's not going to happen.
But yeah, these people are crazy that don't like Ted Lasso.
So,
Do you think Nate's gonna come back to Richmond team at all?
in
any
some manner,
capacity?
yes.
To work on the team, I could see him being a coach, like continuing.
In some
to coach.
manner, yes. That'll be the fence that is mended, I believe.
I made sure to say Rupert, right? Okay, I was like, did I say Richard earlier?
With that out of the way, thank you, folks, for listening. Remember, we do have a Instagram account now that you can follow us for polls and stories and all kinds of other just fun posts that we make. Like if you listened last week, you got to hear my sick voice. That was real ASMR there. If I had gone
sick
low on
voice.
it. Yeah, when I did the story where I
You
was
weren't sick on Instagram.
Yeah, on
Okay.
Instagram when I was really sick and my voice just like went so down low.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, so that was crazy. But
and sorry for the beginning of this episode where we just jumped in and started talking about Manifest and didn't even explain the premise.
I'm not sorry at all.
Until like 10 minutes through. That's just kind of how we are, though.
I'm not sorry at all. Okay.
So if you had to pick real quick before we wrap this up.
Oh, jeez.
Best character on Ted Lasso, your breakout character, excuse me, not best character, your breakout character for this season.
Trent Krim.
Trent Krim, formerly of The Independent. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope on Twitter @LilRunner or on Instagram @LilRunner1485. And Daniel is on Twitter @TheRealHoboDan. Drop us a line if you like the show or have a question you'd like us to address on a future show. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.